Alright, this is Journeyman 2 here, and we are going to be starting our Domino expert campaign run of Next Evolution. And I've created this deck here to show off some of the complexity of Domino. I think she has some really deep and some really creative deck building and playing. There are so many different builds for her, and she just gives you that sense that there's always something better that you could have done. So I feel like this deck really challenges me as a player, which I really enjoy about her. And we'll dive right in. We'll start with her identity card. Nina Thurman, Alter Ego, 3 recovery, 9 hit points, 6 hand size with the mutant trait. And as an action, you can choose a card in your hand and swap that card with the top card of your discard pile. And this is incredible because that top card of our discard is going to be changing so many times every single turn. Every time you spend a resource, it changes. Every time you mill cards off your deck, it changes. So there are so many different decision points with this ability that make her so rich with complexity. It's also like having an extra card in hand that, or an extra option at any point in time. And if you're seeing 3 or 4 different top of the discard changes every turn, it's like you're having 3 or 4 additional options just to think about and consider. If we go to the hero card, it's Domino, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense, Posse and X-Force traits. When counting resources on cards discarded from the top of your deck, count each printed wild icon twice. So it has to be printed, so it can't be something like Band Together that's blank. But when we're discarding for her effects that do things based on the number of resources discarded off the top of your deck, all of the wilds will be counted twice. And then the action, choose a card in your hand, swap that card with the top of your deck. Just like her Alter Ego ability, this gives her almost like an additional hand size, or an additional choice. And you can do this at any time you're in hero on your turn. So the decision point of when to swap the top card of your deck and when to swap the top card of your discard create just tons and tons and tons of decisions. And I'll try to accurately represent that in this stream, but it is going to be incredibly difficult to do because there is so much to think about. But hopefully this helps everyone at home trying to wrap your head around her, and we'll dive into her kit. We'll start off simple with her events. She has 2 attack events, a good workout. Deal 4 damage to an enemy and discard the top card of your deck. For each resource icon discarded this way, deal 1 additional damage to this enemy. So for her ability, if you discard a single resource, it's doing a minimum of 5 damage. If you're discarding a wild, you're dealing 6 damage. If you're discarding her signature resource Jackpot, it's dealing 7, and if you're discarding the campaign card Pouches, it's dealing 8, which is great value. Her thwart card, right place, right time. She has 2 of these. Remove 3 threat from a scheme and discard the top card of your deck. For each resource icon discarded this way, remove 1 additional threat from that scheme. So again, the floor of this card is removing 4 threat, and the ceiling of this card is removing 7 threat. So she does have these very flexible, very strong events, and you can set up the top card of your deck if you want to try and get some breakpoints on these. Now, she does have better plays for her ability, but at base, this is what you can do very, very simply. She does have a couple signature allies. She has Outlaw here. 3 cost, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 hit points with Tough. And her interrupt is that when she attacks, discard the top card of your deck. Outlaw gets +1 attack for this attack for each resource icon discarded this way. So again, Outlaw, minimum of 2 attack, maximum of 5 attack if you're hitting that campaign card. So Outlaw can be a very valuable ally, even if you just don't block with her Tough. If you just attack 4 times with her. If you're just hitting for 3, you're dealing 12 damage for a single ally. Very powerful. Diamondback, 2 cost, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 2 hit points. Exhaust Diamondback, deal 1 damage to her and discard the top card of your deck. Deal 1 damage to each enemy for each resource icon discarded this way. So what she lacks in single target damage, she makes up for in attacking every single enemy with non-attack damage. She's dealing a ton of damage if there's a lot of minions out, if you're in multiplayer, and if she hits Jackpot and she deals 3 to everything, you could get a board wipe and hit the minion, or hit the villain, and it's ignoring guard, it's ignoring retaliate because it's not an attack. Very strong 2-cost ally here. A lot of times just use her resource, or use her hit points twice, her ability twice, get her back in the discard, swap her into your hand, play her again, do it again. So she can, if you use her twice in a turn, she's hitting everything for usually 4 damage in that turn. Pretty incredible. Now we have our signature resource card, which is Jackpot. After this card is discarded from the top of your deck, shuffle it back into your deck. And the unique thing here is that it is a triple resource card. Energy, mental, physical. This makes her excellent at removing attachments, at hitting kickers, at paying for expensive cards. And anytime she discards it, that's an extra 3 damage, or an extra 3 thwart, or an extra 3 to whatever card it is that is being discarded. And then it goes right back into your deck to be discarded again in the future. Now, if you have Jackpot in hand and you're an alter ego, you can spend it for a 3-cost card, swap it back into your hand, and then spend it again for another 3-cost card. So you just played something like 8 effective resources worth of cards for 4 cards, or something around there. And very incredible. And if you get her signature support, Pip the Pug, you can then go ahead and load Jackpot to the top of your deck. Because Pip the Pug is an alter ego action, 1-cost support, and you exhaust him to put 1 domino or 1 posse card from your discard pile on top of your deck. So you can use Jackpot 3-4 times in a round if you're starting with it in your hand in alter ego. And remember, this response is optional. So if you're planning on flipping to alter ego, you can let Jackpot enter your discard, flip down, and then get it back into your hand as well. So the decision tree here is so vast, and we will likely make some mistakes, so let me know what you catch in the comments. Let's move on to her last event here. Luck Be a Lady, 1 cost. Discard the top card of your deck and count the resources on it. For each resource counted this way, if it is an energy, heal 2 damage from a scheme. If it's a mental, remove 2 threat from a scheme. Heal 2 damage from a character. Mental, remove 2 threat from a scheme. Physical, deal 3 damage to an enemy. Wild, choose one of the above. And because we're counting wilds twice, if she discards a wild for Luck Be a Lady, we get to choose one of the above 2 times. So it can be any combination. It could be heal 2 and remove 2. It could be heal 2 and deal 3. Or we can even pick the same option 2 times. If we want to remove 2 threat, then remove 2 threat again. Deal 3 damage to an enemy, deal 3 damage again. So there are so many possibilities with Luck Be a Lady here. I think there's 6 different possibilities if you're hitting a wild, and then you have a 7th possibility with Jackpot if you hit, because it's hitting all 3 of them for 1. And if it does hit our basic doubles, Energy, Genius, Strength, then we are going to count those twice. So we get to deal 3 twice, remove 2 twice, heal 2 twice. Incredibly flexible 1-cost event. It's not an attack, so again, it's ignoring retaliate, it's ignoring guard. And that heal 2 damage from a character means we can heal any of our allies. So like Outlaw, who is swing for 3 usually, that's 2 more swings for 3. Diamondback, we can really just heal her once, but again, that's another free 2 damage to the board. And then we have some other very strong allies that we'll go through in a little bit. She has some more upgrades here. Lucky Break. When you reveal an encounter card, discard Lucky Break, cancel the effects of that card and discard it. Reveal another card from the encounter deck. So this is basically a free mulligan of an encounter card, and it can be any encounter card. It doesn't have to be a treachery. You can mulligan a minion, mulligan a side scheme, but just has to be when you reveal it for multiplayer purposes. Can't be when someone else reveals it, and you have to be in hero form. Now there are times when you know what encounter card you are getting. So in the campaign, there are certain cards that will be dealt to us face down, and if we have Lucky Break, we know we're going to get a certain card, and we don't want that card at that time, we can mulligan it for something else. Lucky and Good. 1-cost upgrade. Defense. When a boost card is turned face up during an attack against you, exhaust Lucky and Good, cancel that card's boost icons and boost ability, give the attacking enemy another boost card for this attack. So this lets us mulligan our boost cards, which is great for hitting perfect defense, and using this ability counts as defending even if we don't exhaust to defend as well. So if we're not using our defense stat, but if we're using like a Defiance or a Preemptive Strike or a Judica skill, this will cause us to be defending as well, and help with hitting any sort of preventing some damage. Now, hitting our perfect defense is going to be very valuable for next evolution campaign in particular, but it also lets us dodge certain boost abilities. So this is just a neat little insurance card. Unfortunately, does not work in Alter Ego, but very good card for us. And we'll move on to her maybe strongest event, or strongest upgrade, which is Probability Field. When you use a basic power, discard the top card of your deck, you get +1 to that power for this use for each resource icon discarded this way. So when you combine that with Domino counting wilds twice, her stat line is effectively 3 thwart, 4 attack, 5 defense. So we combine that 5 defense with lucky and good, and we'll be perfect defending a lot. Now, Probability Field also works for your basic recovery, because basic recovery is a basic power. However, Domino does not count wilds twice in her alter ego, so she will only be recovering for 4 usually if she discards a wild, but if we discard one of our basic doubles or we discard Jackpot, then we will be recovering for 5 or 6. Her other signature upgrade here are her pistols. She has 2 Domino's pistol. They're restricted and they're each an attack. Exhaust the pistol, choose an enemy, and discard the top card of your deck. Deal 1 damage to that enemy for each resource icon discarded this way, and it is ranged. So if we look at it's a ranged attack, it's going to combo with the Sharpshooter card, which is when you make a ranged attack, discard the top card of your deck. This attack deals 1 additional damage for each resource icon discarded this way. So if we use both pistols, and each one is boosted by Sharpshooter, we're going to be discarding 4 cards off the top of our deck. Now there is a minuscule possibility of hitting Jackpot 4 times or Jackpot 3 times and pouches once. So it is possible to hit 12 to 13 damage just with her upgrades alone. Now, usually it's not going to be it's not going to be 12 to 13 damage. It'll be closer to the 4 to 8 damage range, which is still very good with ranged. And because it's an attack and there's a cost arrow, we get to do everything before the cost arrow, even if we're stunned. So in order to pay the costs to do the attack action to clear the stun, we still get to discard the top card of our deck, which is relevant for hitting stuff like Digging Deep and White Fox. So White Fox is an ally that when she's discarded from the top of our deck, we get to put her into play under our control. Digging Deep is a resource. After this card is discarded from the top of your deck, add it to your hand. So at base, if we have Digging Deep in hand and we swap it to the top of our deck, so we've just gotten another card into our hand, and then we discard Digging Deep with our pistol and we add that to our hand, it's basically like we just drew an additional card and we guaranteed 2 damage with the pistol off of Digging Deep. Now, when to swap Digging Deep and White Fox to the top of the deck and when to use pistol first blind is a tough decision. And most of the times we might want to just pistol without setting the top card of the deck and then seeing what pistol hits, because we might be swapping a Digging Deep for a Digging Deep or White Fox for a Digging Deep or something like that. And so we will be evaluating these type of decisions as we go through the campaign. Her other signature support is the Painted Lady. After you discard a card from the top of your deck, attach that card face down to here, and as an alter ego action, we can exhaust it to add 1 card attached here to our hand. So when we go to alter ego, we will be getting 2 extra cards, 1 the turn we flip down, and 1 the turn we flip up. So we will be trying to store up to the maximum cards under Painted Lady if we can, and I usually try to hit the basic doubles, because instead of getting 1 resource, we're going to get 2 resources or 4 resources for our entire flip down. And I also like to store Weapon X and X Gene underneath it because they have this play only if your identity has the mutant trait on them, which means we can only play them in alter ego. So Weapon X, exhaust Weapon X and take a damage, discard cards from your deck until you discard an identity specific card, then add that card to your hand. So if we do something like Pip the Pug to put White Fox on top of the deck, Weapon X will discard White Fox, put her into play, and then also get us an identity-specific card. It could also hit us a bunch of Digging Deep, so this could be a very valuable Weapon X for us. If there's a specific card we want to hit, like let's say we want to get Jackpot, we could use Pip to put Jackpot on top and then use Weapon X to grab Jackpot into hand. We also have the X Gene here, which is a wild resource icon. Exhaust X Gene, generate a wild resource for an identity-specific event. So this will be our Luck Be a Lady generator. This deck started out as, can I build a 40-card deck with all double resources and wilds? The answer was yes. Leadership and Basic do have enough to do that, but getting the +1 on certain effects isn't as strong as some of the options that we're going to be laying out here. Okay. Moving on, let's go through our allies here. We have Adam Warlock, 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 cost, 3 hit point. After he attacks or thwarts, discard 1 card at random from your hand. If that card's printed resource has physical, remove 3 threat from a scheme. Energy, heal 3 damage from an identity. And mental, deal 3 damage to an enemy. Or wild, choose one of the above. So because we have wilds, we'll usually be discarding a wild and we'll get to pick whichever option is best for us. But we can also guarantee what the last card in our hand will be a lot of times. And we can do that very well if we hold on to Jackpot.
Voice is not recognized.
What we can do with Jackpot is hold on to it as the last card in our hand, and then Adam will thwart or attack and discard Jackpot, and we will get all 3 options because Adam is only checking if the resources are present on Jackpot. Now, unlike Luck Be a Lady, if we discard something with 2 of the same resource icon, we do not get that ability twice. Adam is only checking if it has the resource, whereas Luck Be a Lady is for each resource counted. Subtle difference. Luck Be a Lady discarding from the deck, Adam discarding from your hand. And then one other major difference here is that Adam's heal is only for identities. So he can only heal Domino, whereas Luck Be a Lady can heal our allies. So healing Outlaw, healing Adam, so he can keep doing the Jackpot loop, healing Gamora. These are all very valuable uses for Luck Be a Lady over Adam Warlock. Now, because Jackpot will be the last card discarded, if we hold on to it and use Adam with it, that means next turn, if we're an Alter Ego, we can swap it back into our hand and do the same thing again. Or we can swap it onto our deck with Pip, draw into it, spend it, get it back in hand, and at the end of the turn, use it with Adam Warlock. So, a lot of different sequencing puzzles between these two, and Beasts only complicates it even further, because after he enters play, search your deck and discard pile for a resource card and add it to your hand, and he can go ahead and get Jackpot for us. So if we have Jackpot, Beast, and another resource in hand, we can play Beast, get Jackpot back to hand, play a 3-cost card with Jackpot, and then swap Jackpot back into our hand and play another 3-cost card, or just spend it for Adam Warlock's ability, or put it on top of the deck and play Luck Be a Lady off of X Gene, or, there's so many different sequencing puzzles with Domino, and I'm just hoping that that we're able to show off some of these things in the video. So moving on to these 4 allies, we have Gamora and Ghost Spider, who are trait locked. We cannot play them from our hand normally, but with things like Make the Call and Call for Backup that put allies into play, we do get to ignore their play restrictions. So Gamora, after she attacks or thwarts, discard cards from the top of the deck until you discard an event and add that card to our hand. So Gamora is going to be digging for this Luck Be a Lady power card. She's also going to be digging for Make the Call, because we're going to have a lot of extra resources and we might be able to play a second ally. And in the meantime, she's going to be discarding cards, so hitting stuff like Digging Deep, hitting stuff like White Fox. So if we hit a Digging Deep and get an event, now we're getting 2 resources instead of just her usual 1 resource. And then that Digging Deep can go right into playing Make the Call or playing Luck Be a Lady. So Gamora is very nice for this deck. Ghost Spider. When Ghost Spider leaves play, search your deck for an identity-specific event and add it to your hand. So we do get to just tutor Luck Be a Lady right out of the deck. This will be our target most of the time. And she does have valuable wild resource icon. Professor X is amazing with Domino, 3 cost, 3 thwart, 0 attack, 3 hit points. After Professor X enters play, choose one, confuse the villain, stun a minion, or ready an X-Men character. At the end of the round, if he's in play, discard him. Now, almost all the time we're going to be using that confuse. If we play him, we can confuse the villain, get access to our swapping discard, get access to Pip, get access to Painted Lady, and then we can either make the call for him again next turn, or because he will be the last card that enters the discard for the round, we'll be able to swap him. So these trait-locked allies that don't do anything for us in our hand, we can swap them for the top card of the discard to get a more playable card, and then play that card and make the call. So let's say we have like Jackpot in hand and Professor X. We could do something like play Jackpot, play Professor X, swap Ghost Spider into the discard for Jackpot, and then use Make the Call and Jackpot to play Ghost Spider. So Make the Call is getting us our 3-cost allies even more often. Now the one thing to consider with Make the Call is that Jackpot will enter the discard before Make the Call. So this means that it will not be the top card of our discard, which means we won't be able to swap it. And likewise, if Jackpot is the top card of our discard, we may want to avoid playing Professor X if we can help it, because he will cover up Jackpot. Now if Pip the Pug is out, it's going to complicate things even further, because we can just use Pip to put Jackpot on top of the deck and not even worry about the top of our discard very much. Deadpool, wild resource icon, 3/2/2/3 ally. If he would be defeated by consequential, heal 3 damage, add an acceleration token. Most of the times he's just going to be a wild resource that gets discarded, but some of the times he will be just a free play off Jackpot or a double in Digging Deep. Just very solid allies all around. We do have a lot of resources in this deck. We have 10 resource cards by my count. Jackpot, 3 doubles, 3 Digging Deep, 2 Power in All of Us, and 1 Innovation. But we do have tons of ways to spend these resources. So like getting a card from the top of our discard, getting a 3-cost card, dumping them into Make the Call, putting them on top of our deck so that we draw a card. We really shouldn't run into too many hands where these resources are dead. We're always going to have things to spend them on because we can always swap them out for something else. Power in All of Us, very valuable wild card, and it hits a lot of our basic 2-cost and higher cards. So Sharpshooter, Gamora, Ghost Spider, Professor X, Deadpool. We're almost never going to play White Fox the hard way. And then one combo here is CITT, 2-cost card, exhaust CITT and spend 2 resources of any type, ready a Guardian character. It is a wild resource icon, which is great. And Power in All of Us doesn't just work to play CITT, it works to pay for its ability as well. So that means just for the cost of Power in All of Us, we can use CITT. And the only target in this deck is Gamora, but Gamora is so strong, if she is exhausting twice, we're going to be getting 4 attack and 2 events that turn, so 2 chances to hit Luck Be a Lady, and usually she'll hit a Digging Deep or a White Fox, so with bonus. We used to have some other Guardian allies like Groot and Rocket are also wild resource icons, but I ended up replacing them with the player side schemes because getting that, like, they weren't being played, they were just being discarded for their wild resource icons, and having 2 cards that thin the deck versus 2 wild resource icons ended up amounting to the same thing. Speaking of those player side schemes, we have Superpower Training. Each player may search their deck and discard pile for an identity-specific upgrade and put it into play. So we will most likely be taking Probability Field or one of our pistols. But if worst comes to it, we can always grab Lucky and Good and Lucky Break. Very good card for Domino. And I used to have build support in this deck to try to hit Painted Lady or Pip or Weapon X or CITT. But we ended up cutting build support just because these 1-cost cards are a little bit easy to get down, and CITT has so many different ways to get into play that I'd rather keep the deck at 40 and try to thin the deck a ton than have it run at 41 with build support. The upgrades are just so key for her, especially if we're having to stay in hero form for extended periods. Call for backup. When defeated, each player may search their deck and discard pile for an ally and put it into play. So it's another way to treat those traits like Gamora and Ghost Spider. But it also gets us Beast immediately, and Beast comes with Jackpot, or it gets us Adam Warlock if we have Jackpot in hand. It gets us Professor X if we're trying to flip down and get Jackpot back into hand so we can play Adam Warlock. There's so many different options here. Innovation is the last card. Here response, after you spend this card, heal 1 damage from an ally you control. So between Innovation and Luck Be a Lady, we will hopefully be able to keep Adam Warlock healthy and Gamora healthy, and keep their loops going. We can always heal Outlaw, or we can heal Diamondback if we need to. Innovation healing Diamondback is excellent because it's essentially another 2 damage to everything on the board. So if we run into these like high minion encounters, like scenarios 1 and 2 of Next Evolution, Diamondback can be pretty key if we get swarmed by minions. Okay, well, that is our Domino deck here, and I'm going to start recording the campaign, 5 games, and we will see you in those games. I really hope that we're able to show off this hero well. We will give it our best shot, but she is so complex. I mean, every single person watching the same video here is probably going to see 10 different lines of play that we could have done. So we'll try to wade through it all, provide a good experience for everybody, and let me know what you think after.